His new EP is called Ether. It is out on the 21st on Rise Records. It's available for pre-order now. Let's welcome in Mark Morton.
Hello. That's quite the contrast there.
Well, which one is the real Mark Dwayne Morton? The world needs to know.
Let's see. Those things were about 15 years apart. I'm making my transition into adult contemporary rock.
Well, it's good. You got to have albums like that around the house. You just can't crank Lamb of God all day, as fun as it is. But it's kind of cool that, you still have the day job, right? But you get to, spread your wings a little bit and pretty much just, satisfy your other creative side, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's certainly the idea, is just really to man, I just play guitar, I write songs, I make music. It's like, I do all kinds of stuff, musically. And fortunately, the last couple of years, I've just had the opportunity to find a destination for some of these ideas that really wouldn't sit well if I tried to force them through the Lamb of God filter. I'd be frustrating a lot of people, including myself and our fans and that kind of thing. So just as a guitarist, as a songwriter, as a musician, it's really actually very exciting to have the chance to sort of develop some of these ideas and see them through and record them and work with amazing artists that put combinations of people together that don't normally happen. It's cool.
Yeah, because on your first full-length solo album, Anesthetic, it was still definitely on the heavier side, but still different enough from Lamb of God. And I've never understood why, if people do solo albums, why they would do something that sounds like their full-time band. I think it's great that you're collaborating with other people, but doing something that's different.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm in one of the best heavy metal bands in the world, and I'm lucky to be a part of that, and lucky to be able to participate in putting those songs together and working with those guys. But yeah, like you said, I mean, for me to go out and do a thrash metal record is sort of, kind of defeats the purpose, because like I already get to be in Lamb of God, so yeah. I'm not gonna do much better than that, I don't think.
Right, exactly, and also I think you can show other sides of other musicians as well. I'm not really familiar with Sons of Texas, but that's their singer Mark Morales singing on that song, who has sung on your other album as well. But you also have Howard Jones from Light the Torch on Ether, and you really hear another side of him as well, him more in singing mode than sort of, again, that what you're used to in terms of his vocal.
Yeah, I think Howard really embraced the idea, sort of the concept of like taking this avenue, taking this opportunity we have, and to just branch out and do something out of the norm, or at least maybe a little out of his comfort zone. I mean, he certainly did a great job with it, so maybe he was a little comfortable, but just like you said, not how we normally hear him. I've known Howard for so long, man. We've been playing shows together for 20 years almost, and 3 different bands in his case. And this is the first time we've ever got to work on a record together. We've played festivals and shows all over the world together. He's a good friend. And first time we've ever got to work on music together. So I was really excited about that.
Yeah, and I think the same goes again with your full length Anesthetic. You had Jacoby from Papa Roach on there, and Chester Bennington, and again, I think they did something different vocally as well. So I think as much as we're seeing a different side of you, you're also bringing in musicians that we expect a certain thing from, but now you see a different side of them as well. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody there.
It's cool too, because now we've done it a couple times, like you said, we did Anesthetic, and now we've done this Ether project. And so maybe, I mean, we're certainly not, the first to kind of take that sort of concept, but I think maybe I'm kind of elbowing out a little space for myself to do that some more in the future, because really that's one of the greatest joys for me, is just bringing in new people, working creatively with other people that I admire, that I respect, that I'm a fan of. And it really cleans the slate for me as well creatively, so that when I go back to working and writing Lamb songs, I can have that sort of clarity of focus, and like we were saying earlier, not try and put these sappy love songs into a thrash metal band.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's true. You know, you say you feel refreshed from doing something different, so that when you go back to Lamb, you have a clear head again. And I follow you on social media, and I saw you tweeted something similar about sobriety. The two sides of Mark Morton again. The partying Mark Morton, and now the sober Mark Morton. And you had mentioned that you were terrified at first that if you dried up, so would your creativity, but apparently it didn't work out that way.
It hasn't for me. Yeah, it's funny to, talk about this stuff a little bit in interviews. I'm certainly not the poster guy for sobriety or anything like that, but I did get clean. I did get sober a little over a year ago, and that was one of my fears, was that it was sort of so really kind of intertwined into my creative process in an odd way. Honestly, for guys like me, it was really kind of intertwined into everything I did.
Yeah.
And that was sort of the issue there. So, but yeah, I had to sort of get my legs underneath of me sort of creatively and in a whole lot of other ways to understand that I was actually, the work I had done previously was in spite of my drinking and my drugging, not because of. And I don't feel like I've ever been more productive than I have the last year and a half or so.
Yeah.
It feels pretty good, man. It feels pretty good.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously you have two solo projects out, along with continuing to tour with Lamb of God, and and it's interesting because I just realized this, and I didn't even know the origin of the name, but before Lamb of God, the band was originally called Burn the Priest, which I had no idea was a weed reference.
I don't think it is. I've read that too. I don't really think it is. I was, it's all kind of a blur, but no, I don't think so. That was, I think it was just kind of shock value. I think it was like we were writing music at the time that we thought was the heaviest, most unlistenable crap we could come up with, and I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on your show.
You can say whatever you want.
Yeah, so we were playing all this screaming, unlistenable shit. Actually, we didn't even have a singer at the time, but I think it was just more of a shock value kind of reference.
Okay.
And really, that's why we went on to change the name, is because we started taking our music more seriously and having a little bit more ambition than to just kill a case of beer and take as long hits as we could or whatever we were doing and party. So we got a little more ambitious. We got some semblance of a half of a goal for ourselves, and we decided to kind of change the name so we might be taken a little bit more seriously. But that's ancient history.
Yeah, but I like that as a term for getting high. We'll burn that. But now with edibles and stuff, it's like, what are you going to say now? Like, eat the gummy priest or eat the priest cookie. It's like there's so many forms of weed these days. But I like burn the priest.
Man, that's all for you.
No, I don't. No, I don't partake. But I do like the name. I'm gonna continue that legacy on, even if it's not true. Talk about the new video also came out for, you did a cover of the Pearl Jam song Black. You also do She Talks to Angels by Black Crowes with Lizzie Hale on the album. Talk about why you chose those two particular songs to cover.
Yeah, sure. I think that era of music, that kind of early 90s era of rock music is so great. Like for me, I guess just guys, in I guess our age group, it was such an important time for music. And I think I've always been a loud and proud Black Crowes fan, pretty much their whole career. I had Steve Gorman and Mark Ford were guest players on the Anesthetic album. In fact, Mark Ford was the only other guitar player that played on the album besides me. And Steve Gorman's great. He's a really funny guy and a great drummer, and it was cool to hang with him. So anyway, had them on the last album. And so when I knew I was doing acoustic stuff for Ether and thought about the Crowes song and thought about having a woman sing it would kind of flip it a little bit in terms of the power of the lyric and sort of the angle of, I guess, the protagonist, of the song. And Lizzie just sang the shit out of it, man. She's so talented. It was like I got it. She was the only singer on this project that I wasn't in the studio with because she was on tour.
Yeah.
I was with Josh Wilbur in LA working on the music, and we sent her the track, and she had just gotten home from a tour, and she tracked her vocals in her studio in Nashville and then sent them by the time I got him back, I was back in Virginia, and I played it. Josh sent me a mix of it, and I swear it was like getting a Christmas present, man. I sat right here in my kitchen and like listened to it like 3 times in a row. I was like, oh my God. So she's great. And then the Black cover, that song to me is just one of the great songs of that era. I think lyrically, it really, really does like sort of capture those universal feelings of like loss and longing and heartbreak and all those things that we all go through. And it's just such a well-written song. And I had heard Mark Morales sing it before. He performs himself. He plays acoustic guitar and sings songs. So I had heard him do that, and he just sings it incredibly. So we talked about doing that together.
And I know that for Anesthetic, you had gone out and did an acoustic tour. I know you had like Doc Coyle from Bad Wolves in the band, and Art Cruz, who's now the drummer in your day job band, Lamb of God, which is great news because Art's terrific. You plan on going out and doing another acoustic run for this one?
Well, so that one with Art and Doc, that was actually an electric tour. We toured with, we toured with Light the Torch, and we did a North American tour there, like as a full band. I just did an acoustic tour with Mark Morales. He's like my live band singer, and sings everybody's stuff from all the singers that I work with in the studio. Mark covers it all, which is pretty amazing. And we just did an acoustic tour of the UK. So it was me, Mark Morales, and a great guitar player named Joe Harbit, who I really plan on working with some more. So that was rad, man. I would love to do more of either one, really. But as you mentioned, I do have this other band I play in, and I've got some commitments with. So we're going to have a really, really big year with Lamb of God. I'm thrilled about it. And in between, Lamb is for sure my home. It's my focus. It's my priority. Those are my brothers. That's my family. But in between, I love doing this solo stuff. It's smaller shows, and I can kind of do whatever I want, and it's just a lot of fun.
You're like the Slash of thrash now, You make an album with a bunch of different singers, but you hone in on the one guy. Like he's got Miles, you've got Mark. I see something happening here. I think you might have a career here, Mark.
Oh, well, that's good news. I even borrowed Miles on Anesthetic.
That's right, yeah. Another great tune. So there'll be a lot of activity from Lamb of God in 2020, obviously, as you said. You've been on the road a lot, especially the last handful of years with Slayer. I know they all say it, but do you believe it's done? Are they done for real, or are we going to talk 2025 reunion? What's your take?
Golly, I'm probably out of pocket here, but if I had to bet, I bet there's going to be somewhere there's going to be another show, but that's not inside information.
I know.
They're saying they're done, but man, we've just seen this happen so many times that.
Yep.
No, man. I hope. I'll put it this way. I hope we see another show. I hope we do.
And I've always said that. All the years we did that metal show, and I even told Mick Mars on our show, "You'll be back." And I wasn't being a dick. I was just.
That was on your show. That whole thing was you guys, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I wasn't. I was just saying. Look, you could say it's your farewell tour, and if you come back 10 more times, I'll still be there. But you don't have to make an announcement about it because no band has ever proven it yet. Believe me, Twisted Sister will be back. Everybody comes back eventually. And I'm with you, man. If Slayer comes back again, I'll be there to see him. I missed saying hi to you on the Megadeth cruise, but I did. There was a great moment on there I wanted to mention before I let you go. You guys were doing a Q&A in the atrium. Mm-hmm. And there was an amazing moment where, and I think, people who are fans of Lamb of God know all the trials and tribulations that Randy had gone through in the Czech Republic, right? He almost went to jail for quite a long time. It was very trying for you guys and fans and everybody. But he was telling a story during the Q&A about how there was one prison guard while he was in jail awaiting these charges against him who really treated him nicely and treated him like a human being. He said, other than that, he was in this dark cell in a basement, and they just sort of treated him like an animal. But this one guy was a fan, and he wrote in his book that if he ever met this guy again down the road, he would buy him a beer. And I just happened to catch the moment where he said, and guess who's on the ship tonight? The prison guard from that thing, and I caught the moment where he hugged him and they had that moment there. I don't know if you could see that, Mark.
Yeah, I can. I was there.
Yeah, you're in the picture too, a little bit.
Yeah. I look like I'm crying.
You wouldn't have been the only one.
I don't think I am, but I look like it. We'll go with that.
That was an amazing moment, huh?
Yeah, that was pretty. Yeah, that was really crazy, man. In fact, I had met him earlier. Randy pulled him aside and introduced me to him, and just totally unplanned, totally like no one was aware of that. I mean, I guess that guy knew he was coming on the cruise, but yeah, that was a surprise to everyone. Pretty special.
And Randy said, so I wrote in my book, I'm going to keep my promise, and I'm going to buy you a beer. And I suggested everybody else on the boat buy him a beer. And when Randy speaks, I think people listen, because that was about 5 o'clock.
Did they get him hammered? I wasn't hanging out very much, but I bet that dude got hammered, man.
Dude, I saw him at 8 o'clock. He was being held up by two friends. So everybody on the ship bought him a beer, which was very cool. He deserves it. That was very cool of him to do that for Randy. And wishing you guys luck and Lamb of God for 2020. Congrats on all the solo music and especially the new album, Ether. Can we put the cover up, please? Cover art is very cool as well. There you go. And that's out the 21st. Available for pre-order now. Good luck with that, Mark, and thanks for spending a few minutes with us, man.
Absolutely, Don. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
I'll see you down the road, bro.